time for a book review, and this book review is again one of the books I got started but haven't had the chance to finish, and today I finished it. It is this Korean book, but it is the Buddhist Sutra of, I might butcher the name, but Amitayurdhyana Sutra. Amitayurdhyana Amitayurdhyana Sutra. And yeah, the caption more or less has it right. So, what is this sutra about? So, if you've seen my other Buddhist sutra reviews, you will know that the Heart Sutra is about the void in everything and the fundamental truth of void and how it permeates not only the physical realm but the spiritual realm, and also how once you come to the realization that everything is void, you have no more reason to fear. You have no more reason to suffer. And that was the main content of the Heart Sutra. And the Diamond Sutra, which is again a very important sutra. The topic of Diamond Sutra tells us, hey, um, so now that you know that everything is void, now that you know how to live a good life for yourself, how should you conduct your life for the world, right? Because that's what makes Mahayana Buddhism different from like Theravada, right? Basically, we're not just focused on our Buddhahood. We're focused on going out into the world and making the world a better place. So how do we exactly do that, Mr. Buddha? And the Diamond Sutra tells us it's basically Buddha's teachings about the idea and the dangers of subscribing to form, right? So, Kaylee's here chatting with me, and then now I could be in my head setting up all these expectations, right? Oh, I'm doing this for Kaylee, and so therefore, when Kaylee watches my content, her life is gonna dramatically improve, and if that doesn't happen, then blah 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 blah. So now the intent behind like helping Kaylee is not that pure, right? Like, so I can call this helping, but it's not. It's a transaction. It's a set of expectations. And more importantly, when I have these types of expectations, when I have these types of attachments, then I suffer. And not only does that not help the world, it only does not. It also does not help me. So the grand discussion inside happening inside the Diamond Sutra is basically don't subscribe to forms. Don't try to rationalize things. Don't try and make sense of the things that you need to do. There are things that just ought to be done. Just shut up and do those things. He didn't say it in those words. That's a very liberal interpretation that I have, right? So, for example, hungry people need to be fed, and sick people need to be treated, and children at an earlier age, they need to be educated. So these are really just kind of like it doesn't take rocket science. It doesn't need to. It doesn't take the most philanthropical man in the world to realize that that's a thing that just needs to be done for the sake of humanity, right? So when you're applying those things, stop thinking about them and just do it. Stop trying to rationalize it. Stop trying that. Stop having that like sneaky thought of, you know, I'm gonna feed that homeless person, and that person better thank me. And so I give that food to the homeless person, and then they just start eating it. Right? Actually happened a few days ago. I was in Santa. I was driving by Santa Monica. Well, to be exact, my wife was driving down Santa Monica, and then we carry a pack of water in the trunk so that we can kind of like give it away to people. And then so I saw this homeless person, so I was like, "Hey, honey, could you stop the car?" And then gave the water. And the homeless person was just like lying down. And when I was approaching him with the water, he was just like, he was like, he wasn't even looking at me. He was just like gesturing, just put it here and leave. And so when I have attachments to like my giving, then I become really angry, right? Wow, like that guy, like he's a fucking hobo, and I'm doing something great and doesn't even recognize me. What the fuck? It's so ungrateful, right? That doesn't help anyone, and that's not the point. Like the point of helping people is not for you to like feel self-righteous about things. So just do those things without expectations. and in general just kind of remove attachments from everything. That is the core of Diamond Sutra. Okay, so in this review of a totally different sutra, I spent the first 5 minutes um, describing other sutras. But okay, now to get to the real meat of the content. What is this sutra about? Well, this sutra is actually about an anecdote. And the situation is this, right? We have this queen, and this queen has a prince, and that prince was supposed to inherit the kingdom or something like that, along those lines. That you get the drift. But then the prince wanted more power immediately, and because of his kind of like a volatile nature of the prince, um, it was starting to feel like the kingdom wasn't going to be guaranteed to him. So he decided to expedite the process, right? Basically started a coup and started killing all of his political opponents. And more importantly, this was the first part of the book, so I may not be remember correctly, but kills his dad, or it comes closer to killing dad, right? And then now that's not enough, and so he's like, okay, so bloodthirsty that he's about to kill his mom, the queen. And then the prince's advisors are like, Prince, we understand that you're extremely upset at this moment, but please reconsider this. There have been violent takeovers from the world, but no tyrant or no person who started these types of coups ever killed their own mother. So, dear prince, we fear that this is going to be a line that you will never be able to come back from. So please, prince, reconsider this. So the prince was like, all right, fine. And then basically imprisons his mother, right, the queen. And so that's the background context of this. And the sutra starts with the queen's really desperate prayers, right? And that's the first important part. The queen started out with like, how dare you, and you ungrateful little brat. And then, how can this happen to me? Oh, everything's so unjust. And then the queen, right? She starts out by blaming everything else on external conditions and blah, 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 blah. But after a certain point, when it is realizing, or when she comes to realize that there literally is no hope anymore, right? She starts praying to Buddha. And now she drops all pretenses of she's being unfairly treated. She drops all pretenses of like, I am such a victim. She drops all pretenses of like, why is this happening to just me? I'm so poor, everything's so unfortunate, I'm the only one that's fucked up in my life. And she just says, Buddha, please give me the awakening. I'll do anything. I won't argue with you anymore. I won't be ungrateful about anything, and I just want to know, how do I find hope in this situation? And then now, with some dramatic flair, Buddha like more or less teleports into the realm where the queen is, and starts preaching to the queen what they have to do, what the queen has to do in order to basically get to awakening and get to peace. And moreover, in the process of that, Buddha explains why this happens in the first place. So, the queen, from the queen's perspective, it is so unfair and it's so unfortunate. It's a twisted fate. But Buddha, through his kind of omnipotence, because again, there are some fantastic elements to this, explains that, your husband, the king, was a bloodthirsty tyrant who wanted to gain control over the lands using violence. So think about it. Suppose your son is incarnated from another spirit. Isn't it likely because of all the people that your husband killed, that one of them would be born unto you, because that's how karma works in the Indian sort of like um, karma concept, right? And so, not only is your kingdom founded upon this really solid foundation of violence and bloodshed, look at how you have ruled your kingdom. Basically, your prince to your prince. Why wouldn't he do this? That's all he learned from his parents. Until this moment, you never thought about how to live the right life. You just reaped all the benefits of the violence and the power hierarchy. And so you have to understand, this isn't something that's so unfortunately happening for you. This isn't something that's being really unfairly bestowed upon you. This is basically exactly the seeds that you sowed, and that's what you reap. And now that you completely understand how you have come to this situation, here is the second part of the sutra: how to cleanse your heart, and after you pass on to the afterlife, or even before that, depending on your progress in the practice of cleaning your heart, you can get to not this hellscape that we live in, where there's bloodshed and betrayal and everything, but the land of the pure. So this sutra is 1/3 of the Pure Lands Sutra, and the Three Pure Land Sutra is a foundational text for a specific branch of Buddhism called the Pure Land kind of a Buddhism, right? So the theory behind this is that the world in which we live in right now is impure, because we common people do all sorts of fucked up shit, and then so through practice and meditation and doing good deeds, we earn our right to get to the land of the pure, basically where Buddha resides, right? And the theme of crossing over and getting to is also very important and foundational in the Heart Sutra as well, right? At the end, there's 3 chants. Aje aje para aje parasang aje moji sawaha. That means let's go, let's go, let's go to the other side. Let's cross over to the other side. So Buddha basically describes 13 or 16, I'm not completely sure, but yeah, 13 types of meditations that you do. And it starts out by observing the sun as it's about to set, right? Because when the sun is setting, the light isn't as intense, and you can look at the sun directly, and you observe the sun slowly but surely going down and introduced into the light, into the dark. And so through that, you get to contemplate the impermanence of things, right? And then you contemplate the expanse of water, and then the trees, and then the forest, and then like you imagine the where Buddha is, the like the tree that he got the awakening from, and imagine, you contemplate and vividly imagine the land of the pure itself, and all the bodhisattvas and all the Buddhas that live and reside in that, and describes all the pure land, right? And then basically you can get there by the cleaning of your life, cleaning of your karma, cleaning of all the things that you do. And basically the sutra, highly simplified, is basically that. So what is the core lesson from this sutra that we get to take? Well, the really specific meaning of this sutra is, number one, this is the sutra that really outlines the specific methods of meditation. So other sutras cover meditation, but this sutra and the Lankavatara Sutra is kind of like the only, not only, but the prominent ones, the very few prominent ones where Buddha himself describes the act of meditation. All the other sutras, like the Awakening of Faith and other things, they talk about meditation, but it's from the students and basically content that's sort of been passed over generation after generation. this sutra and Lankavatara Sutra is where Buddha specifically speaks about the act of meditation and contemplation. And the second is this is a topic that's also repeated in the Avatamsaka Sutra, um, but the infinite expanse of the heart and the infinite expanse of the heaven, sort of like heaven version of Buddhism. Well, not Buddhism version of heaven. And that expanse is, and that infinite and all the jewels and the flowers and everything, we will cover more in depth when we eventually review the Avatamsaka Sutra. And yeah, so all in all, this is kind of like a historical book infused with some Buddhism fantasy. And if you want to learn more about how Buddhism thinks about the hierarchy of men, how they think, and what the acts they need to do in order, how they should contemplate in order to advance into the next levels of spirituality, this is a very good introduction to that concept. And while there are other sutras that cover these things, meditation specifically, Lankavatara, and the land of the pure and the flowerness and everything, that's more covered in that in the Avatamsaka Sutra. But those two are very, very difficult to read. And I'm studying them right now. I'm having a pretty hard time. So if you just want to get a taste into that, this sutra is the perfect beginning. So I'll tape it out in the Amitayurdhyana Sutra. It's in the chat, so I hope you will check it out, and I'll see you in the next book review, which I'm planning on making it The Old Man and the Sea. Thank you.